Rich Hayden. I own Virtual Reality Racing Club. We're here at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I'm here with Purple Sector Performance, which is a race driver training, all levels, club championship, all the way up to Le Mans level. What we do is we help them out with race simulation and driver coaching, and we do that using our SimRace Pro simulators, which you see behind me. They're really high-level simulation, and we use virtual reality to make sure that the immersion for the driver is as best as it could be, and giving them the accuracy to be able to follow the right lines and be as accurate with their driving style as they can be. One of the things we use with that is the HTC Vive Pro headset with a real high resolution. It's fantastic for driver training. It's the only way to drive a racing simulator. The average speed improvement or time improvement for a driver, a pro driver, going from screens to VR is minimum is 1 second a lap, and the average is anywhere between 1.5 and 2 seconds per lap.
Everyone, and welcome to Circuit Park Zandvort for the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR series. Jake Sanson is due to join us for this evening's proceedings. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. I'm the E-Team Brit Summer Series commentator, but we're going to be keeping you through the action here. Our race director tonight is Rich Hayden, and we will have Jake with us very, very shortly. It's the current 2020 F1 layout here at Zandvort, 2.642 miles in duration, 14 corners in total, as we're with Gary Rigby in the moment at the Audi RS3 LMS TCR, currently running third in qualifying at the moment. Air temperature around about 27 degrees Celsius and 32 degree on the track. We've got about 16.5 minutes left of qualifying so far, so we'll find out what is going to happen over the next few moments or so. Coming into this round at the minute, we do have the fastest lap so far in qualifying of Alex Toth-Jones, 1 minute 44.664 at the minute, and that is just under 0.4 of a second quicker than Kenny Press. Rich Hayden rounding out the top three, nearly 0.8 of a drift of Alex Toth-Jones. Andy Mellors, and then we've got Konstantin in 5th place. Sarah Johnson rounds out the top 6, separated by around about a second. Gary Rigby now in 7th ahead of John Cole. David Christie and Jose Calvo rounding out the top 10 before that quickly changes. Tyson Zodcher is now in P3 at the minute. So we've got quite a few drivers looking to make their mark here after the first round ended up in Spa just a week ago, as David Marshall actually took pretty much the clean sweep, took pole position in qualifying, and then also took the win in both races, and now leads the standings coming here to the Netherlands by a whopping 33 points, 118 for the Hyundai i30N TCR driver at the minute. Then we got Tyson in second ahead of Alex Toth-Jones. Max Coates left Spa in 4th ahead of Mikko Salminen, who was running in the Honda Civic. Konstantin Kletzer in the Audi RS3 rounds out the top 6 ahead of Kobe Likans, Andy Mellors, John Cole and Chris Rigby. So plenty of action still, I think, to happen over the coming hour or so. As we find out what will happen, is now David Marshall in the i30 now goes top of everybody in this session by just 0.060 of a second, as Gary Rigby now heads into pit lane. There's Alex Toth-Jones running in the MSL Cupra Leon. So at the moment, the top 9 positions, that's from David Marshall down to Sarah Johnson, are separated by just over 1.1 seconds. There's Jose Calvo in one of the other Cupra Leons. Likens goes now up into 10th place, 1.4 seconds exactly behind the pace that David Marshall in the Hyundai is currently setting. Calvo at the moment running down in P17, but is probably just on a hot lap at the moment. Paul Laramie rounding out the 18 that are in the running order of things at the minute. We're just waiting for a couple of drivers. Looks like Christopher Rigby and Max Coates look to be those that have yet to set a competitive lap time. 20 minutes for qualifying. We then have a 20-minute race, and then we'll have a 20-minute race after that, which I believe is a split grid, is a reverse grid. So we will see what happens over the preceding side of things. Marshall still has that gap of around 60 hundredths over Alex Toth-Jones as we're heading into just under 13 minutes to go in qualifying, as some drivers going wide. One of the Hondas actually going wide at Tarzan, the first corner here. One of the corners is also named after the famed Dutch legend that is Mr. Arie Luijendijk. Jan Lammers has actually been the another racing legend in his own right from the Netherlands, has been chaired as the people that are actually organising the Dutch Grand Prix, which was scheduled to have taken place around about this sort of point this year, but obviously due to the current pandemic we've had to bring it to a virtual sense. So Cole goes 15th on a 1:46.698. Leekens improves slightly in terms of time. Then we've got Mellors goes up into P6. So the times are changing, but David Marshall still quicker than anybody else in this session. 1 minute 44.592 from the current points leader, a 33 points advantage at the moment ahead of Tyson Zotcher, who is rounding out the top 4. So Zotcher has got to find just over 0.27 of a second in the next 11 minutes and 40 seconds. So rather sunny and dry here at Zandvort. A fantastic circuit that I myself have actually visited and was working as a journalist within the DTM, where Mike Hockenfeller won the title with just one race remaining, and that the race winner that particular weekend was Augusto Farfus. So Farfus ran in the FIA WTCR presented by Ascaro last year with Hyundai in one of the VRRC works teams, along with Nicky Katzberg, Gabriele Tarquini, and also Norby Michelitz, who won the title last year after Gabriele took the inaugural FIA WTCR Cup, as Alex Toth-Jones now pulls it out of the bag with about halfway of the session completed. He's just put in a 1 minute 44.375, 0.217 of a second ahead of David Marshall. So still plenty of time for people to put in the hot laps. Let's see where Jose Calvo is in all of this. Currently running P11, 1.574 seconds off in this session, off of pole position. Jan de Prins is ahead of Christopher Rigby. They round out the top 13. Rigby is about 2 seconds off the pace by Alex Toth-Jones, as we are back on board now with Jose Calvo. So Calvo has got a bit of work to do. Jan de Prins has set a personal best. Rich Hayden sets a personal best but doesn't improve from 8th position. Mikko Salminen rounds out the top 5. Also now goes P4 with a 1 minute 44.867. So Salminen's done a really good job there. Konstantin Kletzer rounds out the top 3 still. And in many respects, Alex Toth-Jones still hasn't been. It was David Marshall that took pole position at Spa last time out, and it was quite a considerable gap, nearly 0.6 of a second. But now Toth-Jones has really got things planted here at Zandvort. So at the moment, with 9 minutes and 24 seconds to go, still in qualifying, Toth-Jones is on provisional pole at the moment. Marshall in second, Kletzer in third, Salminen, Zotcher, Press, Mellors, Hayden, Calvo, Johnson. That rounds out the top 10, separated by 1.156 seconds. Leekens, De Prins, Rigby, Christopher Rigby, then Gary Rigby. David Christie rounds out the top 15 as more drivers improve. And David Marshall now swings the pendulum back in his favour, and he's bridged the gap between himself and Alex Toth-Jones to just over 0.31 of a second. So that is half a second swing. That's a really good, impressive amount of pace that Marshall's found in that car right now. There's David Christie. Out on circuit at the moment. He's running in the TCR Cupra Leon, the previous generation. So De Prins improves on lap time. So Toth Jones improves. Salminen, Rich Hayden, Jose Calvo, Sarah Johnson, Janne De Prins all improve on lap times. Andy Carroll rounds out the top 16 ahead of John Cole, Jose Alde, Paul Laramie and Max Coates. So Max is running on a 1 minute 48.706. Paul Laramie a 1 minute 48.008. Last 8 minutes of qualification here at Circuit Park Zandvort for round 2 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR E Series. And I have been told that Jake Sanson will be in the commentary box very, very soon indeed. Sometimes these things do happen, but I do have to thank Mike Yao from Simply Race, who are helping to broadcast this through multiple platforms, including the Virtual Reality Racing Club Facebook page, YouTube, Periscope, and also Twitch. So a big thank you to Simply Race for helping us to have this broadcasted. Rigby, that's Christopher Rigby, goes up into P11, but Alex Toth Jones not yet having. The thing is, he's still got 7 minutes or so, and when the lap times are around about 1 minute 44 at pure lightning pace that we've seen through David Marshall and Alex Toth Jones and Konstantin Kletzer, they're running in the 144s, as is Salmon and as is Zocher, so he's probably got about 3 or 4 laps, I think, that he might be able to get out of the bag. As soon as he does an outlap, he'll have an opportunity to build the pace, get the tyres up to temperature. And when you think about the fact that a lot of the TCR cars are all production based, but they have a very, very different dynamic to what a road car will have. As someone, I think there was an Audi that just went wide, as David Christie exploring track limits and goes a bit of grass tracking there. So David Christie now back up into P13, as there was definitely a car by the side of the circuit. Couldn't really pick out where that was, but that might have been a Seat Leon. Kenny Press is in one of the Peugeots, the 308 GTI. So Kenny Press rounding out the top 6 and is only just under a second off of David Marshall. So from around 8th or 9th position downwards, so Jose Calvo, Sarah Johnson, Christopher Rigby, David Christie, Max Coates now up into P14 behind the Scot, and then Janne De Prins 15th at the minute. So people are improving their times. David Marshall's out on just completed an outlap, and I think Alex Toth Jones has done the same. So we're coming into the last 5 minutes or so. This is where it's going to be key to find out who's going to get pole position for round 2 here. So Alex Toth Jones running in the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Cupra Leon TCR. And in many respects, since its inauguration, thanks to WSC and Marcello Lotti, back in 2017 with the TCR International Series, the TCR format has grown exponentially across the globe, all 4 corners of it, and obviously now we're embracing it here at the Virtual Reality Racing Club. And if you want to find out about some of the simulators, as Rich Hayden has been a big advocate of, you can head to virtualrealityracingclub.com to find out about the packages they have. They've even been endorsed by the original Stig himself, Perry McCarthy. So if that's not an endorsement, I don't think what else could there be. So Jose Calvo again improves on time. Jose Alde jumps up to P16, 1 minute 46.387. So still many. I think the battle's still going to be between Marshall and Toth Jones, because Toth Jones has just done a 1:45.4 of 1:45.5. My apologies there. So in many respects, it's going to be close. It's closer than it was last time out. So your guess is as good as mine who might take pole position. Sarah Johnson gets past Jose Calvo for P9 as we go into 3 minutes and 45 seconds still remaining. No real sign of who is going to challenge Marshall for pole position at this particular moment. More improvements from P9 downwards. So Johnson improves, Calvo improves, David Christie, Alday, Andy Carroll, Paul Laramie. They all have improved on lap times, but some haven't improved on positions. Rich Hayden's gone into the pits, as has Jose Calvo, Kobe Leekens. David Christie have pitted, John Cole have also pitted as well. So 20 competitors here at round 2 after last time out at Spa-Francorchamps. So the gap between the top 6 at the minute is 0.985 of a second. So that's from David Marshall down to Kenny Press. Andy Mellors is about 1.1 seconds off of the 1 minute 44.061 that David Marshall set. So Alex Toth-Jones has just done a 1 minute 44.567. So Toth-Jones looking to build momentum and try and carry that through. I think you've just seen him come onto the screen there, which he has done. Sarah Johnson improves as well. She's just done her personal best of a 1 minute 45.455. And then the lap that she's just completed a 1 minute 47.859. So probably looks to be now deciding, well, I'm going to save it for the race. As coming through, as there's a Honda Civic on the right-hand side of the screen there that has gone off, and that was very much a Tom Coronel livery. Of course, he runs in TCR Europe. As we're now going to see some drivers probably now get an opportunity to do one more lap. 90 seconds on the clock remaining in quali. So I think we're now going with Alex Toth-Jones, second on the road at the minute in qualification. 0.314 seconds behind David Marshall. And you can just see how tough it can be. There's downward gradients through corners like Shivla, which is pretty much flat out as well. So last 60 seconds, well, less than that now. There's some very bumpy areas here at Zandvort, and if you do get the braking wrong, it can actually unsettle the car. Even though these are all front-wheel drive machinery, here it can sort of unsettle the car quite convincingly. So Marshall has definitely got a lot of opportunity to try and see if he can extend that gap over everyone. I've just had a personal message as well sent to me via Facebook saying I miss TCR. I think we all miss TCR. We all miss real motorsport at the moment. But great job from Virtual Racing, Reality Racing Club for allowing us to race on a virtual standpoint, and a big thank you to Rich Hayden for that as well. So qualifying has been completed. The time has run out, so that's 20 minutes of the session. That's now completed. So at the moment, David Marshall has basically secured provisional pole position by 0.314 of a second ahead of Alex Toth-Jones. Then we've got Konstantin Kletzer, who is 6th in the standings at the moment on 62 points, P3. Mikko Salminen, well, actually, I think that's changed because Mikko Salminen has been dropped to P5 thanks to Tyson Zochka. So that's a great work by Zochka on the last lap, a 1 minute 44.860. So that puts the top 5 sub 1 minute 45 here. Alex Toth-Jones coming across the line. Has he got enough in the tank to do it? Oh, no, not quite. Not quite. He did a 1 minute 44.419, but a brazen effort nonetheless from the driver in the MSL Motorsport Consultancy, Cupra Leon. So Kenny Press rounded out the top 6 ahead of Andy Mellors, Christopher Rigby, Rich Hayden, and Sarah Johnson rounding out the top 10 with Calvo, Leekens, Coates, Christie, De Prince, Alday, Gary Rigby, Andy Carroll, John Cole, and Paul Laramie rounding out the top 20, all covered by just over 3.8 seconds here at Circuit Park Zandvort. So very soon we will be looking forward to getting some other side of the racing action here. We've got 2 races here this evening here at Zandvort. As I say, a fantastic track. If you haven't been there, it is one of the true classics just by the North Sea. Yeah. So we're going to go to a quick break before we get the racing here underway for round 2 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR E-Series. All right, so it looks like things are underway here at Zandvort for the very first race here. It's a 20-minute encounter here at Zandvort, and we have a 20-minute reverse grid a little bit later on. So at the minute, we've had a couple of changes already. Looks like we've got Marshall leading, Alex Toth-Jones in second, Konstantin Ketzler rounding out the top 3, then Zojka, Press, Salmin Mellos, Rigby. That is going to be very, very interesting. That's Christopher Rigby at the moment as they are on lap 1 at the minute. So we will find out who is going to win the first encounter here out of 2 races. David Marshall wants to keep going, and we will find out how things proceed, whether Marshall will extend his lead after this first race as there's been a change. Looks like Christopher Rigby has got past Mikko Salminen and Andy Mellors, so Mellors drops down to P8. Gap between our 2 leaders now, just over 0.6 of a second. Then it is Konstantin Ketzler rounding out the top 3. Zojka, Press. As we're going to have quite a few side-by-side battles, I would imagine, here at Zandvort. It normally has been the case in years past, and with the way that the circuit has been involved in the preparation for the 2020 Dutch Grand Prix, that will be the case where we will have Formula 1 cars side by side by the coast of the North Sea. So lap 1 is now completed. Fastest lap of the race is David Marshall, the current leader at the minute. The battle for 17th, you've got Andy Carroll and Gary Rigby. It's about 1.18 seconds adrift. But Toth-Jones is trying to close on David Marshall. He was about 0.6 of a second adrift on that last lap. As we are now on to lap number 2, as there's a bit of a side-by-side. Oh, there's a bit of an incident. A little bit later on, a bit further down the field, and that looks to be between Alday and Johnson, I believe. So one of the cars might have sustained a little bit of damage to the side doors. As Rich Hayden getting stuck in 9th position ahead of Bobby Leekens. Hayden is about 8 seconds off of, well, he's actually on the back bumper of Christopher Rigby. This is the battle for 8th position at the minute. So Rigby trying to hold Leekens behind at bay now. So there's drivers using all different kind of racing lines here at Zandvort. But at the moment, Marshall continues to lead. His gap now is 1.1 seconds. Make that 1.3 seconds ahead of Alex Toth-Jones. So Ketzler, Zojka, Press, Mellors, Salminen, Christopher Rigby, Corby Leekens and Rich Hayden round out the top 10. Sarah Johnson, as there's one of the Alphas, I think, getting a bit compromised, went a bit too hot into the braking zone. So Rich Hayden rounding at the top 10 in the Audi RS3 LMS. Jose Alde rounding out the top 13 ahead of John Cole, who is pretty much... now the fastest lap has been improved again, and David Marshall is on a 1 minute 44.638. Alex Toft-Jones is trying to decimate the gap as Christopher Rigby now drops into the pits from 11th position. So that will, as that's a great move up the inside through Tarzan by Rich Hayden. That puts him up past Kovalikins, who looks to be in the Alfa Romeo Giulietta, as Jose Calvo goes absolutely four wheels off onto the grass. There's Sarah Johnson in one of the Volkswagen GTI TCRs. So Johnson now up into P13, might even be P12 if she has got part. Now where is Jose Calvo? Running at the top 10 at the minute, but lost a bit of ground there, did Jose. And you can just see, as we now go to Tyson Zojka, who is in the FK8 variant of and that's the current generation Civic TCR, which has been used by the likes of Thiago Montero, Antila Tashi, amongst others, and is being used by Tom Coronel in the TCR Europe series with Boutsen Guignon Racing. And if you remember the name Boutsen, you will remember Thierry Boutsen, former Formula 1 driver, and raced with Williams back in the day. So John Cole having a great scrap here as they come across the crest. Another battle as there's a little bit of panel rubbing here. Sarah Johnson clearly in the thick of things, and it looks like it's John Cole and the Hyundai just up in front, and then I think that might be Yannick de Prince, I believe, just up ahead. Zojka definitely closing on Ketzler for what is P3, and Kenny Press in the Peugeot 308 GTI is not that far adrift and has got a ringside seat as they head through Tarzan. So Sarah Johnson using as much of the track as possible, including the curbs, as I think she's going to try for a move up the inside, as that's an absolute send and a half from John Cole in P12. Runs wide. Johnson trying to get the switch back on the exit coming out of Tarzan. Oh, that was close. That was close. But Johnson still has an opportunity, but right behind is Scotland's David Christie and the Cupra Leon TCR right behind as we head back to Tyson Zojka. Is still in P4 at the moment, but is about 0.8 of a second. There's Paul Laramie who's running, and that looks to be a Honda TCR in Tom Coronel livery that doesn't seem to be tracking too well, as again it looks a little bit jittery on the screen there. But I'm sure that Paul's possibly got, maybe has some internet issues, not too sure. As Zojka again with, this is with Konstantin for P3. That's Kletzer. So Kletzer having to battle with Zojka, as we've got a battle for 18th a bit further down the order. Here's Mikko Salminen, who is behind, looks like Andy Mellows, in one of the Hyundais with the looks to be the VRRC team livery from last year's WTCR campaign. Zojka hustling as Salminen looking to battle away as another fastest lap of the race goes to David Marshall. 1 minute 44.573, and now has a gap of just over half a second as Zojka goes up the inside of Kletzer for P3 through Tarzan. The pair are side by side, door panel to door panel, and oh, they tussle and they clatter into each other off of turn one, and that was a great dive up the inside from Zojka, but Konstantin Kletzer kept it tracking forwards, and the pair came together. So I'll be interested to find out any decision that might be made by our race director post the clash there. But David Christie making his way up into P12. He's been running in the E-Team Brit Summer Series quite recently, which last had its race at Monza last week. Yanni de Prince running down in 16th position. There's Jose Alde, who is definitely looking very planted behind, it looks to be Christopher Rigby, who is in the Leopard WRT Audi RS3 LMS, judging by that livery. So there's a battle. There's about 0.4 of a second between them. Still very much the case where we are just 11.5 minutes to go. And the gap now between David Marshall, he has extended it quite significantly by over 2 seconds. Make that 2.2 seconds. It's fluctuating all the time between him and Alex Toth-Jones to the MSL Motorsport Consultancy, Cupra Leon TCR. Rigby still trying to battle away. He's trying to close on David Christie. As there is, we're just keeping an eye on what's going on for second and third place on the timing screens, and looks like Toth-Jones and Kenny Press are definitely embroiled in a battle for P2. And at the moment, I'm just keeping an eye now. Looks like Sarah Johnson has dropped all the way back to the rear of the field, as Max Coates is about 3.7 seconds ahead of the VW Golf at the moment, as another driver now heads into the pits. David Christie really getting feisty, as that is, I think, probably with John Cole there in the bright white Hyundai, as that's Rigby just behind Christie in the Audi RS3. Christie taking the title line, Rigby going towards the outside to get the switchback, and does so, gets side by side with the Cupra Leon TCR. And Rigby's done the job. That's a really, really good move between the S-Bens there at Shivla, at Zandvort. So we'll make sure, and I think that might have been through Rob Slaughtermarker. So quite a few different. It's quite funny that you have quite a few different name corners, especially when you go to. Or it could have been through Gerlach. So in many respects, Rigby did a great job on Christie there to get through and just carry the momentum. That's what you need to do at Zandvort. So in many respects, you're going to find that when you get the momentum, you get the run through Tarzan, you've got a good opportunity that if you get the switchback, you go through the inside, it works. Zochka now on the comeback trail down into P7 is the Honda Civic TCR driver. Now, at the moment, Jose Alde is now closing on the back bumper of David Christie, as Zochka going up the inside of Mellors into Tarzan and can't get through at the minute. So, go through Gerlachbocht into Hugenholz and then into Hunsrück before they go to Rob Slaughtermarker, which is like turns 3, 4, 5 and 6, and that's a mouthful as Alde runs wide. Zochka going up the hill. One of the most demanding corners here is turn 8, known as Schivlach. I hope my Dutch pronunciation is right there. So you've got quite a lot of demanding corners here, and Schivlach is basically blind apex, full commitment, full throttle, keep it planted, and see if you can make it. So in many respects, as there's Salminen, there's Zochka again, battling away with Mellors for P6. So Zochka, with the pace he was showing, is just trying to go up the inside of Mellors on that corner. Salminen still showing very consistently as he's with Kletzer in the Volkswagen. So we've got about 8 minutes to go of this race. It's the first of 2 races here on round 2 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR E-Series being held here at Circuit Park Zandvoort. 2 races. This is a normal grid race, and then we have a reverse grid for our second race here in the Netherlands. Off of the North Sea coast, a fantastic seaside town and steeped in motorsport history as Zochka goes up the inside of Andy Mellors there. That's for P6 as they come round the Audi Lyondike corner. Not too far behind them is Rich Hayden in the Audi RS3. So Rich Hayden has been silently making his way through as Zochka and Mellors go side by side through Tarzan. Rigby on the back bumper of Cole, that's for P11. Christie's not too far behind, and so is Jose Alde. And it looked like that Cole was going to be compromised there by Chris Rigby for P11 on that particular occasion, but it hasn't happened quite yet. So in many respects, and the position change has happened, and that is after Tarzan, but they're still side by side. Oh, and Rigby goes into the wall. Christie and Alde are there to capitalise. Christie goes around the outside of Rigby. So great capitalisation there by David Christie to get past Chris Rigby, as did Jose Alde. So Rigby drops from what was P12 or P11 down to P14. Rich Hayden has done a really good job keeping it in P8. Christopher Rigby now has to fight back. He's got 6 minutes and 15 seconds still to go in this first race here at Zandvort, as Rich Hayden is looking up the inside of Mellors for P7. Okay, so that's through the Audi S's at turns 12 and 13. As Alde getting very, very aggressive behind the back bumper of the fellow Cupra Leon TCR driver that is David Christie, as they now head into the Audi S's, I believe. Oh, Rigby sends it up the inside of Alde, clatters into the side of Christie. So Alde now goes up the inside, and he's side by side still with Rigby, who is keeping the inside line for Kumo corner. Now they're going to go through the banking here, through the Ari Lyondike corner, and Alde keeps it planted round the outside. That's absolutely brazen. Rich Hayden still going through Gerlach and Hunsrug on the back bumper of Mellors before they go through Rob Slaughtermacher. Battle for second still between Alex Toth-Jones and Kenny Press, but the gap between them is around about 6.8 seconds. So Toth-Jones, I think, will just look at a very, very good points haul in this first race here. But the battle is still raging away between as Alde runs wide again, goes a bit of grass tracking with two wheels. They go up the hill, and this is where it's going to really be a testament to the drivers to have the full commitment as they come down the crest. So through Slaughtermacher up the slight incline, and then they're going to go through Schivlach as Salmonen looking up the inside of Konstantin Kletzer for P4. So two Volkswagen Golf GTIs at it. So in many respects it's going to be a case of let's see what happens. As Leekens going through into the Audi S's, he's just behind Rich Hayden in the Audi RS3 LMS. 4 minutes and 15 to go. It's still undecided on what is happening up and down the field. It has been a completely topsy-turvy race. The gap between the two leaders, David Marshall, who will extend his points lead as we've got 4 minutes on the clock remaining. Coming through Ari Lyondike corner. Rich Hayden still trying to keep pace with Mellors. Salmonen still trying to keep along with Konstantin Kletzer for P4, as Hayden sends it up the inside of Mellors, trying to go up the inside in the Audi, not quite getting through there just yet, through Tarzan, and Leekens now has the ringside seat. Salmonen a bit further up the road in the bright white, or flat white I'm going to call it, amidst the multicoloured, the black, white and gold Golf GTI of Konstantin Kletzer. Leekens in the Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR, still trying to keep pace with both Mellors and Hayden. That's the battle for what is now 7th and 8th position, as Salmonen still really hustling behind Konstantin Kletzer and he's swarming all over the back bumper of Kletzer. There is Salmonen. Christie now rounding out the top 14, so Christopher Rigby has managed to get his way past up into P11. As Christie loses another place now to Gary Rigby this time. Drops the Scott down to P16. 2 minutes and 43 still on the clock left to go. Salmonen sends it up the inside of Kletzer. And they exchange a little bit of paint there, but that was very much a see if you can fit it through the gap. And Salmonen make sure it happens. So, and whilst this has been happening, Tyson Zochka in the leading Honda Civic FK8 TCR now is on the back bumper of Kletzer for P5 as they come through the final corner. So at the moment between, as David Marshall has a lead of about 1.1 second or so, or it's decreasing all the time between him and Alex Toth-Jones. So we still have much to be decided, even though there's only less than 2 minutes on the clock still to go. Zochka goes up the inside of Kletzer, so Kletzer within a lap or so has lost a couple of places, down from P4 to P6. So nice work by Zochka. Saw the gap there as Christie's going to try and send it up the inside of Gary Rigby, but doesn't have the room or the availability to do so. Kletzer now losing time. He's lost about 0.4 of a second, make that half a second to Tyson Zochka on that particular occasion. So air temperature, as per the virtual surroundings of Zandvort, is 26 degrees air temperature, 34 degrees track temperature, 60 seconds on the clock left to go. As Rich Hayden is now being pressurised by Corby Leekens for P8, as Andy Mellors is still ahead of the number 50 VRRC Audi R8 RS3 LMS. I will get my descriptions out very nicely, very well there, as Leekens now closes on the back bumper of Hayden. So Leekens now has the ringside seat, but it's dependent on how long he holds on for, as David Christie now is battling away with John Cole. That's for the last position in the top 15. So we now are on 16 seconds to go, as Hayden's going to go up the inside of Mellors. They go side by side, the Audi and the Hyundai, into Tarzan, and Hayden makes the move. Oh, Mellors clatters into him, and Leekens sweeps up the inside. So in that respect, Hayden had the move done. Mellors wanted to turn in, didn't have enough room, caught him, and now it is the final lap. So Marshall is on course to make it 3 for 3 here in the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR E-Series. He's done the double at Spa-Francorchamps. There's Andy Carroll down in P13, and in many respects, Christie and Cole still battling away for P15. So we are on the final lap of this first of 2 races here, as that's a great move up the inside, if he can make it happen, from David Christie as they go up the hill. And he's gone side by side, exchanging a little paint from the right front fender to the left rear quarter of the Cupra and the Hyundai respectively. But in many respects, it's going to be, I think it might be a bit too little, too late, or for David Christie, running up as high as P11 in this race. So in many respects, you could find, as the checkered flag has waved, and it looks like our winner will be David Marshall for the 3rd race in a row. Alex Toth-Jones takes 2nd place. So Kenny Press makes it 3 different manufacturers, with Peugeot in the top 3. Mikko Salminen and Tyson Zochka round out the top 5, representing Volkswagen and Honda respectively. Konstantin Kletzer would end up making it 2 Volkswagens in the top 6, ahead of Corby Leekens, who managed to capitalise ahead of that clash between both Andy Mellors and Rich Hayden on the what was effectively the last lap of the race. So Mellors finishes in 8th, Mellors in 9th. Hayden actually looks to have gone up into P8 as a result of that clash. Mellors takes 9th ahead of, Mellors has actually been dropped a little bit, I think. Might have been a post-race penalty. Just having a look, as the timing is just adjusting at the moment. So David Marshall takes the win, 3 out of 3 here at Zandvort. Alex Toth-Jones takes, just bear with me a second, I'm getting a message so let me just see what I'm getting here. So joining me in the commentary box a little bit later than scheduled, Jake Sanson. Welcome, good sir.
What a thrilling race that was. Absolutely fantastic. Caught the end of it as I was dashing back upstairs. Absolutely thrilling. That is exactly the kind of motor race that we sign up for in these sort of things. Brilliant stuff from the VRRC. Absolutely thrill-a-minute and genuinely close quarters racing. No holds barred and none given, all the way from start to finish. That's how motor racing should be.
It's door panel to door panel. We saw great clashes. We saw great racing. I mean, David Christie getting stuck in, Andy Mellors, Rich Hayden, the guy behind Virtual Reality Racing Club, which you can head to their official website, virtualrealityracingclub.com, which has been even endorsed by the original Stig, Perry McCarthy of all people. You know, but this is what we wanted. David Marshall does 3 for 3. Alex Toth-Jones takes the second place. And we've got the reverse grid race. I mean, as what we've seen through the BP Ultimate Supercar E Series recently, Jake, I think this spells unpredictability at its highest, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is where it's really going to pay, because obviously the drivers within the random grid shuffle is going to make it a particularly tough race. And this second race essentially is going to have greater impetus within it even than the first race did, because everybody will feel, right, I've got the handle of the car now. I've got the feeling of myself a little bit here. I've got a balance within the circuit. So now I can really gung-ho and go for it. But a lot of drivers will find that they're going to be a little bit too hasty, a little bit too soon. So we could see quite a bit of drama, certainly in the early stages.
So the 2.642 mile, 4.252 kilometre 2020 layout of Zandvort, we are using the banking at the Arie Luijendijk corner, the last corner, named after a man that is steeped in motorsport tradition. Jake, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how the second race gets on, wouldn't you say?
Certainly will be. There's going to be plenty of drama, lots of tension, and certainly a heck of a lot of people trying to get their onus on as they try and work their way around this very tight and twisty course. Obviously, there's going to be a heck of a lot of different battles going on within the...
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A big thank you to Simply Race for allowing us to broadcast this all the way. A big thank you to AlphaSync, SimLab, AOC, HRX, OBP, Vive, NGK, Goodyear, and Sunoco for their assistance, obviously, as always.
Well, the thing about this circuit is that it's going to give us plenty of exciting drama as the race is going to get underway very shortly. Red lights. Oh, is that a jump start or two?
Oh, that's Rich Hayden. That's Rich Hayden of all people in the VRRC Audi RS3. What happened there?
Well, already a couple of drivers deciding to gung-ho early, and obviously going before the lights have gone. So, there's a couple of dramas a little bit further back. One or two cars going sideways there as they work their way through. But it is the print from Laramie. Rigby, Christie and Rigby coming through in no problem at all. Adam, that looks like Carroll through in sixth position without too much difficulty. But definitely a very exciting start to proceedings as we watch Sarah Johnson going through, just in there behind Jose Alday. And as they come through the hairpin, this is where things are going to get messy.
Yeah, I think the Peugeot that went wide was Kenny Press, who was round in the top three last time around, but it's side by side going down the hill. This is absolutely tentative. We go with Christopher Rigby, who was embroiled in that four-way scrap in the first race in the Leopard WRT livery. Nice to see these classic liveries. I think we've even got Tom Coronel's livery and the BRC liveries, as Jake yourself was commentating along with Matt Neal at the Sepang finale last year for Eurosport. But to see such great liveries that we aren't seeing in real life, but we're actually seeing here at the VRRC TCR E Series.
Alday up past Carroll as well for P6, so that's obviously going to be an interesting little inter-team squabble. Oh, we got problems in the left-hander. 3 or 4 cars going sideways. That really hasn't gone well. I think Johnson and Alex Toth-Jones both caught up in that one as they tumble down the order, and Zoschke is down the order as well, so all sorts of pandemonium as the field knits its way through. But out in front, De Pring has got a 2.7 second advantage and has already bolted away.
Looks to be a DNF, unfortunately, so one of our 20 runners and riders out as Carroll goes wide. Carroll goes wide too. So it's not been easy for the Cupra Leon TCR drivers. Fastest lap is Janne de Prins, who is currently leading at the moment, a 1 minute 51.568. Then it's Gary Rigby, Paul Laramie, who is in the Tom Coronel livery. David Christie up to P4. Chris Rigby in P5. Jose Alday, Andy Mellors, Mikko Salminen. So there's plenty of changes for positions, as Laramie now hustling on the back bumper of Gary Rigby for P2. Oh, Christie runs wide. Christie runs wide and clatters into the barriers, and I think Christopher Rigby's just got past.
Yes, indeed. So that's now Janne de Prins in the lead from Gary Rigby and Paul Laramie. Chris Rigby P4 from David Christie, who has recovered, but not without costing him the 4th place from Andy Mellors and Mikko Salminen. Jose Alday, David Marshall and Rich Hayden in the top 10, just in front of Max Coates. All sorts of dramas behind, and still an awful lot of contretemps to come here at Zandvort as the field makes its way up through the tight and twisty section of the course, the vintage part of the course, as you will. They come through the loop and then all through that long combination of right-handers. This is where the car can really start to snap away. We're watching Rich Hayden as the field knits its way through, but this is a very tricky part of the course. You've got to be absolutely sure on your braking points to make it all ticked up together. That's Mikko Salminen stomping all over the back of Mellors as they come up towards the new chicane. Say new chicane, it's pretty old nowadays, but up towards the Hans-Ernst Bosch, up the inside. This is where he's going to try and get a switch back on the inside line. Nicely done, though. And Salminen gets through. But is there going to be enough of a gap for Andy Mellors to try and come back on the left-hand side? He has to bail out of that one and let Salminen go.
Yeah, Konstantin Kletzer, who was actually really featuring the first race, he's all the way down at the back part of the field at 19th position. Zojka has got some work to do from P14. Max Coates definitely getting his elbows out here as he's running TCR machinery before in Britcar. He's running P10. He's behind Rich Hayden.
Right. Duprin has pitted. Now, I think that's a drive-through, isn't it, for the jump start? So Duprin has come through.
So it was Duprin's, not Rich Hayden, as we thought it might have been, because he's running in the 51. Rich Hayden is running in the 50. So my apologies there for making a bit of a clanger at the front when we went onto the grid pretty much straight away. But Alex Dolph-Jones puts in the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 45.017.
And what that drive-through penalty for De Prince has done is it's turned it into an absolute thrill fest, because now we've only got 0.8 of a second between Rigby out in front and Laramie in second. Here comes Marshall trying to get his move on the inside of Mellors. This is going to be a tough dive on the inside. Beautiful move through Shevak, and that's a really nice overtaking move, but he's going to run wide on exit. He needs to be able to shut that door down before Mellors comes back through, which he has done so. And as they work through Mastersbosch up towards turn 9, this is where things are going to get quite slippery. And Salminen is actually already starting to go after Christie, so there could be an opportunity into turn 10. He's not quite going to get his opportunity, but on the exit, he has got a good rhythm through.
That's very much the case as it's side by side between Rigby and that looks to be Laramie. That is the battle for P2. Oh, Rigby sends it round the outside. That's brave at its very best as Salminen trying to do the switchback on Christie, but that's allowing Marshall to close on the back bumper. These two battles that we're seeing wage in front of us, and I must be honest, Jake, Gary Rigby is not getting away. So Chris Rigby, Paul Laramie, you could even have a top 6 scrap very shortly, I think, with maybe the next couple of laps or so between the top 6 for the lead of the race.
Salmonen's back, Christie. Marshall coming around the outside as well. We're on board with Christie, and I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to 5th place for long. Marshall is on his left-hand side trying to come through as Laramie pits as well. So I think Laramie may have had a jump start penalty come his way, as well as Marshall tries to come around the outside now and hold back on target with Christie, but Christie has managed to get into 4th place. Was that a little bit of a love tap? I think it might have been on the way through towards Galakbosch, and then obviously towards the Hugenholz hairpin. This is where this is going to be a very tricky run up the hill, but Christie has been able to succumb to a little bit of pressure, but has certainly not given away the place to Marshall. Salminen in 3rd place now, 1.9 seconds adrift of the 2nd place car of Rigby.
Definitely the case. Well, as they say, Jake, rubbing's racing, isn't it? And especially when you look at Days and Thunder, and that's very much the case in TCR action. There's Andy Mellors, and he looks like he's got Jose Calvo, who struggled in the first race. He was, I think, just under the outside of the top 10. So there has been a change. Lead change.
Rigby's gone off by the look of it. Gary Rigby has gone off and down to 5th position. So Rigby's had an incident somewhere. He was the leader, but Gary Rigby is now down in P5. Salminen through, and he's gone off again by the look of it. Has he got an issue?
He might have had damage from that first clattering. If he's clattered into the barriers, that car is not tracking true. That Audi is not going to have any luck at all. As David Christie is absolutely putting a defensive masterclass on in front of, I think that might be David Marshall. And that's for P3 on the road. So Christie really showing great account that he's battling with the leaders, but he's having to do a defensive on David Marshall, who is looking to make it a clean sweep. He's done the 2 at Spa. He's looking to do the 2 at Zandvort. He's got past Christie. Now he's on the hunt now for Mikko Salminen and Christopher Rigby.
This is going to be an interesting one down to the first corner. Watch for Rich Hayden. He's going to try and make his move at Tarzan. Round the outside, he might have to go all the way, the long way round to get past David Christie, to get past Marshall. He has done so to hold on to the position. Max Coates is now there in P6 as he tries to get his way up the order. But this is going to be a very tight run through these first few corners of the lap. Rich Hayden tries again on the inside line. Can't get through past Christie. Christie still there in P4. Oh, it's Jose Calvo. Dives on the inside of Mellors and nerfs him wide as they come through Hugenholz.
Is definitely one incident that might be investigated, and they're still side by side as Max Coates still definitely hustling his way through behind Rich Hayden, and they are literally line astern Max in one of the two FK8 current generation cars, as Mellors really coming under fire now.
That is a tough little run. The Alfa Romeo taking all sorts of punishment as they come through that section of the course, and it could get pretty messy behind us, but Max Coates still hustling Rich Hayden, trying to come around the outside into turn 10, and again through the left-hander trying to get the move. Here is Kobo Leekens, and Leekens in the Golf Alfa Romeo just trying to work his way back onto the tail of Zoshka. So Zoshka still there in 8th position from Leekens, and then Rigby is next up, the former leader, in front of Andy Carroll. So a very tricky situation for the competitors at that point through the S's. And there is Alex Toth-Jones back into 15th place behind the former leader, Jans de Brins. So a tricky race for several competitors in this field. But certainly the lead is still up for grabs as Coates has made his move on Hayden. Here he comes on the inside line of the final turn, and he's up to P4. He's got Hayden and Christie in one fell swoop. Nice move from Coates.
In the meantime, Jake, David Marshall again has set another fastest lap, a 1 minute 44.871, as it looks like Zochka's got past Leekens. Side by side down into Tarzan. Oh, that could have been very, very close there. That is Zochka on Mellors, I believe.
He's got him. Yeah, he's got him. If you look on the exit, he has managed to get through on the inside line. And in 5th, Hayden swabbing around all over. Mellors trying to come back at him and up on the...
Two wheels on the grass for the Hyundai.
Goodness me, this is proper TCR stuff, isn't it? It's around the outside now. Leekens is trying to hold on to his position, but he can't as Hayden bangs doors with Christie.
Well, Christie's definitely getting his elbows out. Forget about the rest of them. I mean, but now it looks like Rich Hayden sweeps it up the inside through Schufler. So that's a great move there from Rich Hayden up the inside of Christie. So that's now the positional change for P5. Hayden's now going to try, well, Christie's even trying to size up Hayden yet again as the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th between Zochka, Mellors and Leekens is absolutely imploding. Mellors looking up the inside of Zochka, can't get through. Christie side by side with Hayden for P5, but has to slot back behind the Audi driver, and he does the switch back up on the inside. Christie, if he gets that, that's a great bit of textbook work there from the Scot in the Coupe Relay on TCR, and they're about to bang panels there going down the hill. Hayden keeps it in front behind Coates, and Christie trying to get back past him, and then all of a sudden Zochka bounces up all over the curbs. Mellor down just behind, Leekens back behind, but absolutely captivating action here as Johnson and Alday go side by side through the same corner. Johnson gets the move up into P13.
Nice move from Sarah Johnston on that lap. Further back, we had issues for Calvo and Carroll. They got an incident in there, as did Alex Toth-Jones, up as high as 14th on that lap and then dropping down the order. Only Laramie, who's in the pit, is lower down, but Leekens is now trying to get his move on Mellors again into Tarzan. He's going to come from too far back there. He's going to banzai it. Oh my goodness. And he starts his way through on the inside, but the car drifts wide to the exit of the hairpin, and he's not going to be able to hold on to that one. Mellors gets him back. I'll tell you what, Leekens' do or die manoeuvres seem to be his forte, as Calvo now lines up Alday for a manoeuvre, but he's not going to get the opportunity there. And the car in front of them is Sarah Johnson in P13.
I think Leekens took a bit of a page out of Rich Hayden's book, because Hayden tried the move on Mellors on the last race and it all went wrong for the Audi driver.
This is for the lead. This is for the lead of the race. Salminen is just a quarter of a second back from Rigby, and he looks like he might get his opportunistic moment. Leekens, meanwhile, hustling Mellors, but certainly Salminen is going to get his opportunity on Rigby before too long. So now there is going to be a great battle for the victory between these two, and obviously if anything happens between Rigby and Salminen, we've got Marshall only half a second back in 3rd place, and then 5 seconds back is that cavalcade led by Coates, Hayden and Christie. So this is going to be a tough one. Leekens back on the inside of Mellors, can't get there.
Yeah, Marshall's actually the quickest out of the top 3 at the moment. A 1:45.9 from Rigby, a 1:45.5 from Salminen. Marshall clearly quickest of anyone, a 1:45.1. So he is closing, he's about 3/4 of a second. There he is, and he is closing on Salminen. It's now a 3-way scrap for the lead of the race and also the victory, as we've got 7.5 minutes still to go. I can't believe time has gone past that quickly, Jake. It's absolutely brilliant action here at Zandvort.
20-minute sprint races, it feels like 45 seconds of racing. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Salmon and Marshall, there we go. The trio are together. Rigby, Salmon and Marshall. This is for the victory. Out in front, 5 seconds clear of Max Coates. But if they start scrapping, it's going to be a lot less than that, a lot quicker. And Marshall back in a second position, gets his move on Salmonen. So Mikko Salmonen has to drop back to third position and let Marshall go. Now, if he's smart, he'll tuck in behind him and let Marshall do all the work on Rigby. Meanwhile, Sarah Johnson banzais round the outside of the Prince and gets 12th position. That is a lovely overtake in the Gulf from Sarah Johnson. Brilliant performance from her as she gets herself now up another position. Meanwhile, Salmonen still hustling Marshall. 0.2 of a second in it as they come through Shivalak and then up towards Masters. But this is several different battles going on in the mix. Now, Johnson has dropped the Prince and Calvo's going to have a look, having got past Alday. And then, of course, Konstantin is behind as well in 16th place. Here's the battle further up between Christie, Zoshka and Leekens as they duel over 6th position. But the victory is still hotly contested between Rigby, Marshall, Salmonen.
Yeah, definitely the case. I think it's around about, it's 0.8 of a second between the top 3 at the moment. That's what it's covering them by. I've also seen it's been a very difficult race for the likes of Konstantin Kletzer down in 15th, Alex Toth-Jones all the way down in P18. So it's not been a great day in the office, I think, for Alex Toth-Jones. He had a good run in the first race, finishing in P2, but now this is really going to hurt his championship hopes because obviously David Marshall is looking to do the Queen sweep and he's going up the inside for Chris Rigby and he's got the lead. He's got it with just over 5.5 minutes to go, but Rigby is fighting back. They are going side by side down the main straightaway, heading to Tarzan. Is Rigby going to send it around the outside? We're going to find out very, very shortly. But Marshall has got the inside run. Rigby's going to think of it. He's going to keep it planted round the outside of Tarzan. But Marshall is going to make it through. Or is he? Rigby's got the inside run. Now it's Marshall's turn. Salmonen's got the ringside seat. And Rigby goes off. And Salmonen sweeps around the outside of the Audi driver to take P2. Now the clean sweep is back on. And Zochka and Christie go side by side. Leakins right behind them in the Alpha. Zochka goes bumping exactly where Chris Rigby did just then. As Rigby right behind, and you could just see how planted that Audi is through that left-right corner combination through the sweepers. But now he's going to really have an opportunity to get past Salmonen, but that was textbook from Marshall. And Rigby kept it planted around the outside. I thought, was he going to keep it? You couldn't really tell.
And it's just getting started. We've still got 4 minutes and 40 on the clock, so there's still a long way to go in this little tussle as Coates has gained a second on them in all of that as well. So the gaggle of cars behind is not a million miles away from the top 3. If they keep scrapping, there's going to be another couple of tasty battles as Johnson makes his move for the former leader Rigby. And Johnson is going to try and get through into 11th place, has not quite been able to pull off the clean move. There's Konstantin trying to get through on Calvo for 14th place. Meanwhile, Alday has dropped back down the order as well now to 18th behind Toth-Jones. So he's had an incident somewhere. Here's Press trying to get through into 9th position. A good comeback from him in the Autoglim car. But can Kenny Press move up any further? Meanwhile, we've got Johnson still hustling Rigby. And this is going to be an interesting little tussle between them. A second now covers the top 3 across the line. Marshall, Salmon and Rigby with Coates only 4 seconds back now. So they've lost a second in that little scrap as we watch Alex Toth-Jones tucked up behind Carroll. And the battle is going to continue in this last phase of the race, but very tricky stuff. Now here is the move from Leekens. Is Leekens going to have an opportunity around the outside of Zoshka, who again defends into Tarzan? He might get the chance for an undercut, but it's not happening just yet.
Yeah, I've just been keeping an eye on Kenny Press's progress, and he is actually lapping quicker than Dave Christie in the battle for 8th position. So what could be a battle between Zochka, Leekens, Christie could now involve Kenny Press, and he's the sole Peugeot on this field, and he was P3 last time out, so he's got the pace. He's made great incremental moves. There's Jan de Prins ahead of Konstantin Klester, Alex Toth-Jones in there, Andy Carroll, Jose Alday. So they're all battling over what is effectively 12th place. There's Kenny Press trying to get a bit closer to David Christie. There's Leekens, Zochka, Rich Hayden just leading the train from P5. And there is Konstantin Kletzer trying to hustle Jan de Prins for P14. Just over 2.5 minutes to go. And Marshall is extending the gap over Salmonen by about half a second at the minute. He's won comfortably in the past 3 races, but it hasn't been easy because he's had to fight as Alex Toth-Jones up the inside of Jan de Prince for P15. He's now going to go after Kletzer for P14. So Alex Toth-Jones coming alive in the latter stages of the race, Jake, but it's a bit too little too late.
And that's the difficulty. Once you've got a little bit of a gap over your rival, you're not really going to get much of an opposition, certainly in the latter stages, unless a mistake or two comes their way. Toth-Jones still hustling Constantine as we switch back to the battle further up. David Christie struggling to remain in the top 10 as he hustles Leekens down the main straight and up towards Tarzan. But the Seat Cupra TCR is not giving as much grunt as he needs to get on terms with Leekens into that first corner. 9/10 of a second between Marshall and Salmon, and another second back to Rigby, and then Coates, who's still within 4 seconds, but Toth-Jones is hustling Constantine down the main straight, and Carroll's going to have a little bit of a look to the first corner on De Prinz if he gets an opportunity. But this is a very tough end to the races. Up the inside, that's Toth-Jones aggressive on Constantine. He's still got the inside wheel arch alongside the right rear quarter, but it's not enough to draw level enough to get the inside line and keep the momentum through towards the next right-hander at Gerlach. So a tricky run, and up out of the turn a little way in front is Rigby, still trying to defend from Calvo. Rigby must be sick to his stomach. He was leading at one stage as we go into the final 60 seconds of the race.
So Marshall's lead over Mikko Salminen now stretches to just over 1.2 seconds. Here at Zandvort, Christopher Rigby, Max Coates, Rich Hayden ran out the top 5. Zochka, Leekens, Christie, who now sets his personal best of the race on what was effectively going to be the penultimate lap. Here as 45 seconds to go. Calvo dives up the inside of Gary Rigby, but can't get through. Or did Rigby actually went wide, but it managed to carry his momentum through. As there is Konstantin Kletzer up the inside of that is Alex Toth-Jones, and they are side by side for P14. They are not getting their elbows back in until the finish checkered flag has been shown in any way, shape or form. But Zochka is being closed on by Leekens as Kenny Press trying to get some headway as we're now into the last 10 seconds. So as soon as the timer expires, we will be on the final lap of this second and highly exciting reverse grid race here at Zandvort.
Look at Calvo off the final turn. He commits and dedicated to the inside line. He's getting a little bit of a shove there from Rigby, almost in terms of momentum rather than physicality as they come through and over the line. And so there's midfield battles going on all the way to the death as Rigby tries again to hustle around the outside of Calvo, but he's outbraked himself, and that's an opportunity for Toth-Jones to get on the inside line at Tarzan, and he's going to take that without hesitation. Nice overtaking opportunity. Rigby's still going to keep it there. They rub panels, but it's enough for Toth-Jones to keep it positioned. A little bit of a nudge from Rigby, a little bit of a hurry up as they come through the hairpin once again, but this is going to be a tough run up Hunzerug as they continue on their way around this incredibly tight circuit. Up in front though, the final lap is well and truly on for Marshall as he is there 1.7 clear of Salminen, and he really has been able to check out in the right frame of mind. But the third place run is not done yet because Max Coates has reeled in Rigby to a certain extent. This race isn't quite over yet for third position as they continue to charge their way forward, and still this midfield battle continues with Toth-Jones hanging it out there, trying to keep Jose Calvo at bay. But this final lap is well and truly there, and the battle, of course, is going to take us to the finish of this incredible race. And out in front, it is going to be a victorious run to the flag for Marshall. If he can just hang on to this for the final couple of yards, and the checkered flag is out, it is Marshall who gets the victory in brilliant start from Salminen and Rigby. Coates pushing right to the end. Rigby and Constantine.
That was in the Audi S's. So Rigby went up the inside of Kletzer and clattered into the side of the Volkswagen. All went wrong for the pair of them. But that is...
They just outbraked themselves, didn't they? They lock up the tyres and there was nothing really they could do. But the drivers are coming through for the last. Here's De Prinz trying to get one over on the inside, and he's made a place on Rigby. This is just going from bad to worse for Rigby. Former leader now down in 16th, and there's a drag race between him and Carroll for the line. Rigby's going to get it. But wow, what a dramatic race, and fair play to Marshall for making it count. Gary Rigby, Archie.
That was naughty. Sportsmanship, please, post checkered flag.
That's frustration, isn't it? He had the lead earlier on, and that's frustration bubbling over.
Or did he just let one hand off of the steering wheel and it turned left at a la Sebastian Vettel, maybe? But that is 4 from 4 for David Marshall. He extends his points lead convincingly here at Zandvort. Max Coates apparently looks to have taken up. Well, I'm going to have a look at the what it says actually on my screen as opposed to the timing, because it is rapidly changing. So it looks like Marshall took the win quite convincingly from Mikko Salminen. Christopher Rigby took P3, Max Coates P4, Rich Hayden P5, Tyson Zojka, Corby Leakins, David Christie a top 10 finish ahead of the recovering Kenny Press in the Peugeot, with Andy Mellors running at the top 10 positions. But that was an absolute slobber knocker for the reverse grid race 2 here at Zandvort. Wouldn't you agree, Jake?
Exactly what we expect from VRRC. Good racing, hard, no nonsense, fair battles, but intense racing throughout. That's exactly how it should be in the Virtual Reality Racing Club, and that's exactly what we do. So great to see so much drama and tension as the battles just intensified with every single lap of every single race.
I couldn't agree more. A big thank you to Simply Race for doing that for us. But I think we've got someone joining us, Jake. One of our competitors, maybe, and someone who we know as well. A certain Mr. Rich Hayden. Rich, hello, what guys. Do you think after that one? What a round here at Zandvort.
Yeah, that was interesting, right? It was very, very close at the front, very close in midfield. A little bit of argy-bargy, but that's touring.
Well, that's it. I mean, you were right in the middle of all of that, and obviously the battles were always going to be pretty intense. But from what it looked like to us, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, it was hard and it was incredibly aggressive, but it's all fair in love and war in touring cars.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a little bit of driving standards issue, but, that's nothing to be too upset about. So it was a really good race. Everybody had a good race, I think. So, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. It really was fantastic to watch. We were on the edge of our seats for the entirety of, so thank you for the entertainment, and I can't wait. It's going to be very exciting to see how it continues. Obviously, the VRRC really enjoying their motorsport out there, and obviously, I know it's difficult times, but this is exactly what, in a way, what VRRC was created for, the chance for anybody to go racing, no matter what their situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously at the moment, it's very difficult for us to do anything outside of our homes. So, what we've done is we've lent on the esports side, and we're trying to offer a series where you can get the pro drivers involved. Obviously, we're running the Mini Challenge E series, which has got a huge grid, and majority of that grid is professional racing drivers, and then we've got some professional sim races in there as well. But I wanted to create the TCR series just for everybody to have a bit of fun, right? So we can all have a bit of racing when we can't get outside.
That's very much the case, Rich, because obviously you've got a full grid of 35 drivers, some of which are actually competing in this, including Alex Toth Jones, who'll be doing the MSL Motorsport Consultancy Mini Challenge car. I mean, we've got quite a few drivers. Obviously, we've got quite a few that would have competed in the actual championship, like Will Fairclough, Max Coates, Ryan Dignan, Isaac Smith, Brad Hutchinson, to name but a few. But then the sim racers, who I've just had a look at the list of, there's quite a few drivers that will be definitely giving their best, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see the sim races up against the real world drivers. Obviously, the real world drivers, they have a bit of catching up to do on the sims. In a certain way, it's a different style of driving to real life. You're feeling much more through the steering wheel than obviously through your bum as you do in real life. So it's going to be really interesting. I can't.
Fantastic. Well, we've got more drivers coming in and having a word with us. Gary Rigby has joined us in TCR Race Control. Gary, how frustrating a race can you get in terms of that second one, considering how strong it was in the early stages, and then it all just suddenly faded away? Tell us about the race.
Yeah, just got my head down from the start. I thought, well, see what I can do for me. I knew I wouldn't stay there for long. And then got into first eventually after somebody pitted. I don't know whether they got a drive through or whatever. And then I saw my son Chris behind, and I knew he was faster than me. And I just looking in the mirror and just missed my braking point, and all went wrong from there, basically.
It's a punishing mistake, but then that's how narrow the margin for error is around this circuit in these cars. You're obviously on the limit most of the time around this place.
Yeah, you certainly are. It's a very demanding track.
So obviously we're now looking forward to seeing what happens next. Alex, is this a good opportunity to kind of look back over that race in as much detail as we can recall in a short space of time, and kind of think potential driver of the race? There were quite a few.
To be honest with you, I can't really pick because there were so many great standout performances. Because that's the thing about TCR; it is there for everybody, and you don't necessarily have to have a favourite driver like some people do with FIA WTCR. You know, some do have their favourites. Some support, like the Hungarians will support Norby. People will support Tom Coronel, even though he follows and unfollows people on Twitter like nobody's business. But there's so much. There's something for everybody, and I think at the end of the day, I think everyone, for getting stuck in, having a laugh, I think everyone deserves it as much as anyone else, really.
Well, in terms of places made, the man who's walked his way into the TCR race control now has got quite a few things to say about that race. Our old friend Max Coates. I mean, blimey, mate, you night going through the field like scissors through wet newspaper. You did it today.
Was a lot better than race one, that is for sure. I just try to feed my way through with Dave Marshall. Really, he was flying. So if I could stick on his back bumper, then yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah,
Well-
it's always one of those situations, isn't it, Max? You either get dealt a good hand, or you get dealt a bad hand. And as you said, race one didn't go to plan, but you had a really good run. You had some good runs with run-ins throughout the race, even getting your elbows out quite a lot, mate.
Yeah, I forgot to fill it up with fuel for the first race, so that went well. And then and then race two was much better. I picked up quite a lot of damage in race one, so that was why I was very, very slow.
He elbowed me out the way in the last turn as well in race two, as usual.
Hey, you were well out of the way by that point.
I know, mate, but I had
It
to.
was
Fired.
It was nowhere near as good as my move on you at Alton Park. That was much better. So
Yeah, thanks for that.
I can definitely hear the handbag swinging, boys. Please, just keep them down, please, really.
It's all good. It's all good. I expect Max to come past me at quick pace in any race.
Yeah.
Well, I guess at this stage we should have a word, obviously, with the man who's made a lot of the headlines tonight, Dave Marshall. That was pretty feisty, particularly in the last race when you had to do a lot of the hard work. I mean, just talk us through the race from your point of view.
Yeah, so race one was a good start. Kept it clean from the off, and to be fair, as long as it kept me eyes forward, it was all right. But race two, blimey, that's hard on a technical track. Very narrow, and as soon as a gap opens, if you're not there for it, then you can be waiting another lap before you get an opportunity to be passed. So, yeah, made the most of it and managed to catch the guys at the front.
And in a race like that, when there's so much going on all the way around it, and you know that one wrong error and you're going to be spat out into the drink, I mean, it must be so difficult to know which overtaking move on a circuit like this is going to work and which one you have to rein back in.
Yeah, to be fair, whether you can choose that much, you just see a gap, and if it's going to work, it's going to work. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I've already apologised to David Christie. That was an unfair move. Gave the place straight back, but yeah, other than that, kept it clean and came away with a win.
The Banzai approach, that's the Max Coates school of driving, isn't it? That's the book I've read.
Well, that is where I get it from.
Yeah, no worries. Well, David, 4 from 4 after Spa and now Zandvort. Well done. Congratulations.
Yep. Cheers, lads.
Thank you very much indeed. What a stunning evening it's been here with the Virtual Reality Racing Club. A massive thank you, obviously, to Simply Race for helping us on this side of things, and obviously all the partners. It's been really enjoyable. Fantastic evening's entertainment. I really can't wait for the next one.
Neither can I, Jake. Neither can I. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and look forward to the next round of the Virtual Reality Racing Club TCR E-Series. Thank you for watching.